Day number 23. Read the Bible in a year. Genesis 32, 33, and 34. Chapter 32. Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is the camp of God." So he named the place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He instructed them, "This is what you are to say to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there until now. I have cattle and donkeys, sheep and goats, male and female servants. Now I am sending this message to my lord that I may find favor in your eyes." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." In great fear and distress, Jacob divided the people who were with him into two groups, and the flocks and the herds and camels as well. He thought, if Esau comes and attacks one group, the group that is left may escape. Then Jacob prayed, "O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, Lord, you who said to me, 'Go back to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper,' I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. I had only my staff when I crossed this Jordan, but now I have become two camps. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers with their children. But you have said, 'I will surely make you prosper, and will make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted.'" He spent the night there, and from what he had with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, and 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the care of his servants, each herd by itself, and said to his servants, "Go ahead of me and keep some space between the herds." He instructed the one in the lead, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'Who do you belong to, and where are you going, and who owns all these animals in front of you?' then you are to say, 'They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift sent to my lord Esau, and he is coming behind us.'" He also instructed the second, the third, and all the others who followed the herds, "You are to say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. And be sure to say, 'Your servant Jacob is coming behind us.'" For he thought, "I will pacify him with these gifts I am sending on ahead. Later, when I see him, perhaps he will receive me." So Jacob's gifts went on ahead of him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. That night Jacob got up, took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask me my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." The sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of the hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon.
Genesis 33. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 female servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Next Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, "What's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met?" "To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. But Esau said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." "No, please," said Jacob. "If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me favorably. Please accept the present that was brought to you, for God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need." And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Then Esau said, "Let us be on our way. I'll accompany you." But Jacob said to him, "My lord knows that the children are tender, and that I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my lord go on ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and herds before me, and the pace of the children, until I come to my lord in Seir." Esau said, "Then let me leave some of my men with you." "But why do that?" Jacob asked. "Just let me find favor in the eyes of my lord." So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth. After Jacob came from Padam Aram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar and called it El Eloi Israel.
Genesis chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter Leah had borne to Jacob, went out to visit the women of the land. When Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, the ruler of that area, saw her, he took her and defiled her. His heart was drawn to Dinah, daughter of Jacob. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. And Shechem said to his father, "Hamor, get me this girl as my wife." When Jacob heard that his daughter Dinah had been defiled, his sons were in the fields with his livestock, so he did nothing about it until they came home. Then Shechem's father Hamor went out to talk with Jacob. Meanwhile, Jacob's sons had come in from the field. As soon as they heard what had happened, they were shocked and furious because Shechem had done an outrageous thing in Israel by sleeping with Jacob's daughter, a thing that should not be done. But Hamor said to them, "My son Shechem has his heart set on your daughter. Please give her to him as his wife, intermarry with us, give us your daughters, and take our daughters for yourselves. You can settle among us. The land is open to you. Live in it, trade in it, and acquire property in it." Then Shechem said to Dinah's father and brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and I will give you whatever you ask. Make the price for the bride and the gift I am to bring as great as you like, and I'll pay whatever you ask me. Only give me the young woman as my wife." Because their sister Dinah had been defiled, Jacob's sons replied deceitfully as they spoke to Shechem and his father, Hamor. They said to them, "We can't do such a thing. We can't give our sister to a man who is not circumcised. That would be a disgrace to us. We will enter into an agreement with you on one condition only, that you become like us by circumcising all your males. Then we will give you our daughters and take your daughters for ourselves. We'll settle among you and become one people with you. But if you will not agree to be circumcised, we'll take our sister and go." Their proposal seemed good to Hamor and his son Shechem. The young man, who was the most honored of all his father's family, lost no time in doing what they said, because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of their city to speak to the men of their city. "These men are friendly toward us," they said. "Let them live in our land and trade in it. The land has plenty of room for them. We can marry their daughters and they can marry ours. But the men will agree to live with us as one people only on the condition that our males be circumcised. as they themselves are. Won't their livestock, their property, and all the other animals become ours? So let us agree to their terms, and they will settle among us." All the men who went out of the city gate agreed with Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male in the city was circumcised. 3 days later, while all of them were still in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and attacked the unsuspecting city, killing every male. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword and took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. The sons of Jacob came upon the dead bodies and looted the city where their sister had been defiled. They seized their flocks and herds and donkeys and everything else of theirs in the city and out in the fields. They carried off all their wealth and all their women and children, taking as plunder everything in the houses. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me obnoxious to the Canaanites and Perizzites, the people living in this land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, I and my household will be destroyed." But they replied, "Should he have treated our sister like a prostitute?" This first story that we looked at with Jacob at the riverbank wrestling with God is one of my favorites. I really think it goes to show that God's not afraid to wrestle with us, and we can ask the questions that make us feel uncomfortable and dig into the Bible and look for answers, and God will eventually show it to us if we dig down and wrestle with him.
In this part of the Bible, as we're looking at our relationship with God and how God wants us to have a relationship with him, we can see that he's teaching us it's okay. It's okay to work through things. In fact, he wants us to do that. He doesn't want us to be robots just going and doing what he's going to direct us to do, but to really use our own minds, our hearts, our souls, our energy to work through our relationship with him so that it's sincere, so that everything is coming from our hearts. And there was something about Jacob that was spiritual because he understood he had to wrestle with this. He must have understood it was a spiritual being, but he didn't know until afterwards that he was actually wrestling with God.
And God gives him the name Israel, which literally means my people who wrestle with God. That's amazing.
And then he is going back to the land of Canaan. That is where Esau is.
Yeah.
He's going to see his brother. He's afraid to see his brother. He sends a ton of gifts to soften his brother's heart, to make it easier for him and his family to come. And then he sends his servant and her children, Leah and her children, and Rachel and her children, in that order, because, well, he was afraid that people were going to get killed. There was definitely favoritism there.
Sure. It had been 20 years, but what he had done to Esau 20 years prior was pretty serious by taking the birthright.
Yeah.
So there was a genuine fear, I think, on his part.
Yep. And then in the next section, in Genesis, I believe it's 34, we see what happens to Dinah.
Sad, tragic story.
And here in the Bible, God is showing us that bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
Even his own people that he had chosen, something horrible happened to his family. And that though we can try to live good lives, we can try to do whatever we want that is good, it doesn't protect us from bad things happening.
True.
It's just how do we deal with it afterwards?
Yeah, and I think we need to learn as men in our society today, we need to protect women, our women, and children. We look at all the stuff that's happening in the news today. We need to take it upon ourselves to do what's right. Not take it into our hands to get revenge, but to do what is right. And I think Jacob's family knew that honor and respect of women was to be treated as a sincere character.
Yeah, I mean, you see the difference between the Israelite family, Jacob's family, and the family of Hamor, and how his son Shechem was the one who defiled Dinah.
Yeah.
And basically, they're not taking it very seriously. He didn't even come groveling to Jacob to say, "I'm so sorry, this is a horrible thing." In fact, you don't see any type of kind of repentance, any bad feelings on the part of Shechem and Hamar's family.
Yeah.
And even that whole community.
There was a callousness.
Yeah, there was a difference between the two communities
Yeah.
in how they treated women and what they thought of women.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought that the Israelites were just, well, yeah, we can interchange our women, kind of use it. Their mindset was completely different from the Israelites.
I think they realized, why would I allow myself and my family to lower ourselves to your standard? You know, we as believers today, we need to be keeping as far away from the world standards and treat people with respect and honor and love the best we can.
Totally. It made me think about that. The standards that we have as God's people today versus the standard of the world is radically different.
Yes.
And how we have to be aware of that to know what the difference is for one, and to basically live the way that we know we're supposed to live, and stay away from the things that could gradually cause us to become like the world.
Yeah.
And here, the world, in this case, is Hamar's family, Shechem, and that community, because of how they treated women.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So then we see that Jacob's sons take revenge.
Yeah, they took it a little bit too far, I think. They took justice into their own hands. We need to trust in God ultimately to bring about the righteous results that need to be happen.
And Jacob said it wasn't okay what they did. They went overboard. They got, they let their emotions take control of them, and they just took total revenge. They had them all get circumcised. And then when they were writhing in pain, they killed them all, took all of their wives, they took their children, they took their livestock. They basically took everything. It was complete revenge. And Jacob said that was not okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was it's a pretty crazy story.
So I guess we're learning here that regardless of what happens, we don't take revenge into our own hands. We don't take revenge on things. We allow God to do that.
Yeah, it's true. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.